Hey folks, it's a Saturday night. We've been pretty busy the last few days and nights and everything else between. But we are here tonight for a little stream and we are going to do some work. So let's do a couple of things here. What I'm going to do is I am going to create a player controller. We're going to separate out, so we're going to say mission PC, except we're going to try and spell it right because that would be the thing to do. We're going to say mission PC, and then we are going to create a pawn, and we're going to call it mission underscore pawn, right? And then we're going to create a game mode, and we're going to call it mission. We might not end up using all these in the end, but we'll keep it all separate for just now. This will help us to load things up quicker when we're doing this, and we're testing the mission screen, so it won't be loading up a million, what do you call it? Now we don't even know if this is going to be in a different level or not. But anyway, what we'll do is we'll create a new level, right? And we'll just make it an empty level, right? We can muck about with this later. In fact, this will probably not end up being a level, but we'll go with this anyway. It could be. It depends how we want to go with it. It certainly could be. Is it going to actually create a new level for us, or is it just going to look at us as if we're really strange? Apparently it's done it. Okay, so what we'll do is we are going to go to save current level, and we're just going to call it mission. Okay, goes in here. It's already open. We're going to go to world settings, we're going to go to overrides, and we're going to say mission GM. Okay, you'll notice this is default pawn, default controller, etc, etc. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our missions, then we're going to open our game mode. We're not going to do any crazy stuff here, but we are going to have a bit of fun tonight. I have got an idea for this, which might be quite cool. We shall see. We're just going to try something out. You guys should always do this yourselves. You should have a think about something and just try and do it, right? I'll explain to you what I'm going to try and do in a minute once this loads up. Right, so this is opened in another window, or maybe it hasn't. Yeah, it has. It's opened in a window over here, just as well. I noticed that. Right, I saw it pop up behind the other screen. Right, so we've got this, and what we're going to do is we're going to change this to mission PC, and our pawn, we're going to change it to mission pawn. Now these aren't doing anything just now, which is fine by me, right? But you will notice now on this level we have mission pawn mission PC. Okay. So if we start this, it is. I missed the spot. How you doing, bud? Right, so we're going to go into our mission PC. Now, we're only going to need the pawn if we're going to do stuff with a camera. Our actual code is going to be in probably in our flip controller. So, what we're going to do is we are going to... We're going to create widget, if we can type properly. Right. And this is going to be main mission. Right. And you'll notice we've got mission details here. So we're going to join this up at some point. And we're going to add this to viewport. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our main BPs and we're going to look at our pawn controller, right? And we know that we've got this thing here. And we're not actually passing that in, so that's fine. So what we can actually do is just basically copy this. So we'll copy that. Right. And we shall basically pop it up here because it's a debug. Compile that. That didn't work. It's not got a main HUD. Right, so we don't need to actually do that. So we can basically kill these two because we don't have a HUD, which is fine. Right, we can do that. And we can do that. Right, cool. So now, if we press play, nothing will be there, but here you go. Okay. So we have our nice map. And we have our mission stats. Now, here's the fun part. What I want to do is, in the location, if you select this, I want this to basically scale up and then go in like a mission box. Right? So this is going to be a bit squeaky, but we have a plan. We have a part of a plan. Okay, we have a bit of a plan that's probably not going to work, but we'll try it anyway. Right? So, we need to go back to our missions. And this is where we need to do some calculations. Okay? We need to do some calculations and we need to do some funky stuff. Right, so what we need here is we need to open recent, right? And we're going to do a world map transparent. Okay? Now, we need to know the size of our map. 16, right, what we can do is we can go to canvas size and it's 1600 by 905. Okay, 1600 by 905. Now let's hope we can remember that. Okay, now the thing is, we want to Now it actually doesn't matter where we actually select for this. What's that? What's this here? Not happy about that. Right, but what we want to do here is find out where we are. We're at 382565. Right? Now, give me 1 second. I'm going to go and get a pen and put the light on and write these numbers down, right? And then we're going to try this craziness. So, give me a second. Okay guys, we're back. So, we're going to write down the map size, which is 1600 by 905. Now that's going to be a handy thing to know. We might save that in a variable, but yeah. Now, what we're going to do is we need to find out the coordinates of each of our countries that we're going to use as mission bases. So we're going to write down Colombia, right, and we're going to get center point. I think that's Colombia. That might be Colombia. Right? Which one's Colombia? I think that's Venezuela. Or that might be Venezuela. Right, we'll just make this Colombia, right? So that's 383 by 566. Okay? So now that we've got those written down, we can close this down. Right? Now, I'm wondering if I've got Colombia right. I don't want to insult any Colombians, but... So, let's have a look where Colombia is, right? I'm going to check this on Google. I mean, I'm not far off, I know that, but I want to get it right, obviously. You know? I want to get it right, because I'm not exactly a AAA developer who would get something stupid like that wrong. Right? And isn't that quite interesting that Colombia isn't at the top of Google search? Right, where are you, Colombia? Ah, it's the big one at the corner. We're going to cancel that, right? Because it's this one here. So we want this. So we're going to change our coordinates because we like to be accurate here. I'm on Boosty TV. So we're going to write down it's 406 by 537. Okay. Right. Cool. Close that down. Don't save. Right. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get our struct mission, right? And we're going to add a variable, right? And we're going to say country, right? And that's going to be text. Then we're going to add another variable, right? Now we could do this a couple of ways actually. We could create animations, right, for every country that we do, which would be a bit laborious, but it might end up being a way that we actually try it. So we're going to say coordinates, right, and that is going to be a vector 2, 2D, which is going to give us an X and a Y, which is all we have on the map. So that's absolutely smashing great and fantastic. Okay, so if we save that, and then we go into our DT missions, right, we can get our country. Now we could put this in our missions, but we'll save that for later. So we'll just put, what I mean by that is we can put that in our string table, but we're not going to do that. We're going to say Colombia, and then we've got our coordinates, right, which I can't actually see because I put my book down with the coordinates on it. 406537. Okay, so we say 406 537. Okay, now the 406537, what we've got to remember here is we're going to be using different screens. So if you go ultra wide, we've actually got to calculate at what point that is on the screen rather than where it is on the map, right? But we're going to try and get it working first. Okay, so we're going to use Colombia, right? So if we do, come on, where are you? We're actually looking at widgets, aren't we? Right, so we've got this, that's the map. Right, here it's here. What was I looking at? It's obvious it's blooming here. So we're going to open this up, and this text block here, we'll default it to country so that we know what it is, right? And what we're going to do is we'll leave it like that. We're going to go to our graph, then we're going to turn that into a variable, is what we're going to do. Right, so that's going to be txt country. You'll notice we've got a location here, but we'll have it here as well, just to be super pedantic about it. We could actually make the location like the city, right, and make it that. Right, but we'll compile that, and now we'll go into our code, right, and we'll tidy this up while we go here. So we're going to go country, right, and then we're going to duplicate our text, right, so we could say like Medellin or Bogota or whatever the location is for the city, right? Then obviously we can do this. Now, not picking on Colombia here, because there is going to be quite a few places that are, well, basically every place in this is going to be there's something bad going on. So it's not that we're picking on Colombia, it's just the first one that came to mind, you know. So we could have Mexico, Ukraine, the US even, you know, the UK. We could, you know, we're just going to think of crazy scenarios where we're going to use drones, right? Now, as I said, this could be anything, Like we could do really weird scenarios, like where, you know, there's an uprising in France and you've got to basically, I don't know, bomb the farmers or something, or bomb, you know, how there's these nefarious things go on that don't always make sense from the outside. But yeah, the idea here is we're creating scenarios where we'd use a drone. Now that might be to destroy something, or to take a photo of something, or it might even be like in, let's say, Mexico or Greece or even Colombia, right? Or could be I'm trying to think of down the coast of South America, Peru. Where's the? Is it? Yeah, it's Peru. That's the on the Andes, isn't it? So anyway, down the west coast of South America, you've got high chance of powerful earthquakes, but this could apply to anywhere. So you could have round the Ring of Fire in Indonesia, around that area. You could have Japan. You could have Greece, that southern Europe, the Mediterranean area. We could have a scenario where there's been an earthquake and you've got to fly the drone in and drop water, right, to the survivors, right? So it doesn't need to be about bombing stuff, right? We could have it that you drop off medical supplies, you can drop off water, blah blah blah, right? So, you know, there could be nice missions where you're helping people, and there could be naughty missions where you're dropping bombs on people. But yeah, gives us a bit of variation for the player. So anyway, let's try and do some weird stuff. So we have our widget open. Okay. We're going to the graph. Okay, that's exactly where we were to start with. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom. We're going to custom event. Okay, and we're going to say zoom map to location. Okay, so this is going to be cool, maybe. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our coordinates here, right? So we're going to get our mission details, right? And then we're going to break it. Then we're going to zoom down, right? And then we're going to get our image, except not that one. We're going to get our image world, right? And we are going to set, I believe, the render scale. Now in the end, we might need to use the mission here to set this, and we might do a little bit more with, like, we shall interp to this scale, okay? And then what we're going to do is, if we look at this, right, we can move the map. Now, there's a couple of things we're going to have to do here, but we're going to have some fun with it. It's Saturday night, we're having fun. We're going to be doing a transform, and we're going to be doing a translation. Okay? Now, we know the coordinates of this, and we know the center point of this. Okay, so we should be able to translate from here to here and scale in. Okay, so this isn't going to work first time, right? Because we're going to have to do some offsets, right? Because we're going to need to find out where the center of this component is. Okay, but we're going to try and find that out in a minute. So we're just going to have a go for now, right? So let's have a try and see what we can do. Now, let's see what actually happens when we do this. Right, what we're going to need to do is we're going to zoom, map to location. Okay, we're going to have to do a few things here. So let's see what happens, because I want to see what effect. Look at that, right? This has now done its thing. Right, now that is actually Africa. Okay, so let's start by moving, or at least by doing this, we're going to set the render translation. Right, now this is going to need some calculations, but let's set it to, well, what we can do is we can set it to this. We're going to need this value, right? So we're going to break this vector, right? And in the short term we'll do that. We'll do that. We'll do that. We'll compile it. Now this is going to be completely wrong. I just want to see the first attempts at this, okay? To see what kind of numbers we're going to be looking at here. Now you'll notice that we went up. Okay. Now the thing here actually might be to not do the scale, right, so that we can actually see where the map moves to. Okay, so we'll do that. Right, now you'll notice that the map has moved down and to the left, to the right. Okay, and the interesting thing here is if we multiply this by -1, I am just wondering if this is actually going to work. Well, we've got our Bogota on the map, right? And it would look to me as, that's not going to work. And it looks to me here, right, let's put this back in and see what we have. Right, we're in, this is Africa again. Right. So what I'm thinking is, let's try this, right? This needs to be multiplied by the scale, I think, is the way this is working. I did have a couple of earlier commitments, but we should be back to what we were before. So if I've not got commitments, keep an eye out for the normal daily streams, right? Normally I don't stream on a Thursday, okay, because Thursday's rubbish. Now, look at that, guys. There's Colombia. That's kind of what we wanted. Right? And this is looking pretty good. The reason I'm saying it's looking pretty good is because we've still got the offset of the box. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to actually draw this. Okay, now does this have, no it doesn't. We've got an image, right, which is fine, but what we want is to wrap this image with a border so that we can see exactly what's in here and where the center of our box is, right? So what we're going to need is something that's going to give us that. Okay, I'll catch you tomorrow, Mr. Spock. Right, so the thing we're going to do here is we want a button line, right? And we want something like this that's going to show us the likes of this, right? This might do for us. Oh, that's the image. Alright, we're going to clear that. We want it in the border. This will do for now, right? That looks not too bad actually, funnily enough. Right. So if we press play, there's our Colombia. Now we want to compare it against what we have and where it should be when it's not scaled up, right? And it's not that goddamn far out. But the proof of the pudding here is going to be not when we do Colombia. It's going to be when we do another one. Okay, so it's not bad, but it's not great. Okay, but we know what we're looking at. Okay, now the whole issue here is, let's should have probably done it with somewhere else, right? What we could do is we could do Scotland or France or somewhere like that, right? We could do somewhere that's in the northern hemisphere and it's on the right hand side. So we should really have kept open our image so that we could get the coordinates for somewhere else, right? But in the meantime we'll just load this up again, right? And let's do France, or in fact let's do Sweden, right? So we're going to do Sweden. So let's get the coordinates for Sweden. Let me zoom in to have a look at that, right? So we've got Norway on the left, Norway, Sweden, Finland, right? So we're going to do Sweden for a laugh. So if we pick Sweden and we select, let's say, there, that is coordinates 817 by, what is it? 202. Okay. Let's see what happens when we change the coordinates in our data table to match Sweden. Right? So we can go coordinates here. So it's 817 by 202. Compile that and press run. Okay, not good. Not good. Right. Let's have a look at something here. Right? Let's have a look at something here. What I'm going to do is we're going to get our image, right? And it's image world. I'm going to manually move it to see what actually happens. Right, so if I do it 817, it's going to move it away over there. Okay. So we don't want to do that. Okay. For example, we have Bogota or Colombia down here, right? What we need to do is calculate where it is in the map relating to where we want it to be. Okay. So if this point is 600, let's say this is right in the middle, right? So that's going to be, we've got 1920 left, or sorry, 1920 width, we've got 1080 height, okay? So it's going to be 540 is going to be the number that we are interested in, okay? So we are happy that we're set at 540. See? Right, so the point here is this has got to become 540. Okay? Now, we know that it is 202. Okay? We're going to compile this for now. So, when we do our calculation, right, we're not going to multiply it by -1, right? We're going to take our y coordinate, then we're going to subtract 540. No, we're not. We're going to do it the other way round. We're going to do 540 minus whatever that number is. And that's going to move it by a translation of, if we work it out, right, this is going to be 540 minus 202, and that's going to give us a translation of 338, right? So it's going to add 338 on the y, okay? So we might actually need to multiply this by -1, but we'll soon find out. Okay, if we look at the map, the difference between Sweden and the centre of this box, which is in the centre of this whole widget, so it's at basically 540 if we're going 1080 here, right? So if we press play, right, we have it aligned with Mexico, Baja California, okay? So it's basically in line with Baja California. Right, now if we look close in, we want to know if this is level with Baja California, which it's not. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I think at the moment our scale is affecting our values. We just want flat values to work right now. Okay, so we want it to be the same size. We will work on it scaling in a minute. Okay, well, that's not great. Okay, so that's weird. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that, because that's going to affect it if we're multiplying it by 5. Right, so we're going to leave that as is. Right, now we're talking. So we are basically in line with Alaska at that center point. Right, the question is that in line with what we expect? And kind of yes. Right? So, if we do it on the X, right now, we're going to say that this is what? What point is this? Well, we know that on the X, it's 800. Right, so I'm going to say on the X, this is 600. Okay? So, what we want to do is this thing. So we duplicate that, right? We say 600, not 3. And we minus X. Now this might end up actually being plus. And play. And you'll notice that we're nearly there. This might be 500. But you'll notice that we are pretty darn close. Right? And there we go. Okay? So in theory, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change it back to Colombia. And if my rough calculations are correct, for starters, right, we should be matching up to Colombia in the center of our little box. So it's 406 537. Okay, so if we save that and we run it, it's not there. Right? It's not there. This should be in the center, which it ain't. So let's stop that. So there's something not right on our calculations. Okay? So let's check here. 406 537. Right? Now the 537, what I want to do here is we should be moving minus 37 on the X, right? And we should be moving something else on the Y. But let's have a look at that just for now to see if either our X or our Y is correct. And it would appear that no, they're not. right? So it's not correct. Okay, not correct at all. Whereas this one was. Okay. Now, what we're not maybe taking into account here is the size of our image. Okay? Because our image might actually not be what size we think it is. And you'll notice that it isn't, right? Because we've got padding on it. We've got padding on it, and we've got double padding on it, right? The full screen would be 1280, or actually it'd be 1920 by 1080, right? But we have padding on our image, so our image is not actually. Hey, Joseph, how are you doing tonight? So basically, we've got padding, so our image actually isn't a full size image. Now, our width to height ratio is going to be this, okay? But what we actually need to do is find out. You'll notice that this has got a border of 25, which means that we're actually throwing out the width and the height ratio, right? Because they shouldn't be 25 by 25, okay? They should be basically 1575 by 90 whatever it is. Right, if we go to our image again, we've got 25 by 25. We need to do, it'd be 1575 by 881, which changes the ratio of the picture and where our position is here. Right, now the further to the extremes you get, the more of a difference it's going to make. So the Sweden one, when we put the coordinates in for that, right, that is actually not going to be out by so much, right, because the factoring distance isn't going to have such an effect, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to have a cigarette, and we're going to amend our map slightly so that we have a actual target point on the map, right? So I'm going to do a little dot on the map, and I'm going to get its exact center position so that we can get this working correctly. So I'm going to grab a cigarette. I'll be back in a minute. Don't go anywhere. Hit the like and subscribe while you're at it. Okay, we are back. Looks as if we've got a couple of comments to read from Jason. Right. Will the mission location be like one spot per continent or something by the time the game is finished? The white box seems a bit too big for it to move around across the map. As the user moves around the map, going through each location. Just saw the teaser for Groenland. Is this that game? No, it's not. The reason we're doing this is because Groenland is huge, and the level designer, I work with someone on Groenland, right, and he's doing the level design and stuff, so he needs a bit of time to build out some of the map. So I had this little brainwave while watching some videos, right, where I was watching stuff and it was basically on the Ukraine war, right? And if you've watched anything about any news coverage, you'll have seen the drones dropping bombs, okay? The drones gone over and dropping these little bomblets, okay? So I added 2 and 2 together. Now, and funnily enough, just previous to that, one of my users, or one of my students, was asking about like going from a third person controller to possessing a drone, right? So that was the first question, right? It was like the guy, oh, how do you do that? How do you, basically go from one controller to another controller, or one pawn to another pawn? So basically I actually did, this was the first stream on this. It wasn't drone, war at that point, or combat drone or anything. It was just a request from a user. So I basically made that, okay, where you could control the drone, fly it about, then you could swap between the third person controller on the ground and the drone up in the air, okay? And then it clicked with me when I was watching some videos on the Ukraine war, stuff like that. I usually watch it every night just to keep up to date with world news, etc, etc. And as I said, you see all these videos of drones dropping bombs on bomblets, on tanks, on infantry, on ammo caches, blah blah blah. So I thought 1 + 1 = 2. Okay? And here we are. So we're taking a little break from Groenland to give my level designer some breathing space. And since you're being nice and you're having a chat, let me show you what we have. Okay, because this is just a mission screen, right? Now, the point wasn't to click on the map, okay? The point was to have like buttons to the left and to the right that you could click to go to each location, right? So like, let's say mission 1 was Colombia, right? Then you could click this button to the right, which would take you to maybe the UK. Then the map would reconfigure itself to show the UK in here. Your information, mission information, would go in here. And you could basically unlock missions, right? So you would have locked missions if you don't complete a previous mission. Then we've got the duration of the mission, the time of day of the mission, whether it's at night and you need to use night vision, the difficulty of it regarding, how hard it is to maneuver around that particular area, if it's a built up area, or there's people firing at you or whatever. You've got the location, which might be the city, we've got the country, we might have the city, and then we've got the flavour text, right? But I shall show you the actual game, because I'm a nice person. And it's a Saturday night and we're having fun, right? We're just doing we're just gradually working this out. I'm going to reverse engineer it in a minute. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that, right? We're going to reverse engineer the numbers a bit so that we know exactly what's going on. But if I go to here and I load in map 1, right, which is going to relate to mission 1. Okay, so it's not actually this map. It's actually Grasslands 2. This is the map we want. No, it's going to move, like, the map will move underneath, right? And then it'll zoom in. And then, basically, if I've got a couple ideas here, right? That the location will be a city. Or, you know, a place. And we'll basically be able to we'll be able to draw like a little green circle, right? And then we'll be able to do the text next to it. So it looks as if it's moving to the map and it's printing out, you know, it'll do it letter by letter. And it'll go like Bogota, right? Like a typewriter, you know? So it'll zoom in on the city and then it'll put Bogota, Colombia or whatever, right? And then all your mission details will be on the right, okay? And then the next time when you go to the next map, the map will move, right? So that now underneath our little box that signifies it. Now the image you saw there is just a placeholder just to give me an idea of, you know, the size I'm going to need to do and stuff. But it's going to all animate, right? But the way I do this is when I'm doing a widget like this, I've got a general idea of what I want, right? And then I just expand on it and I go, basically I think, would it be cool to do this? And if the answer is yes, then I try to do it, right? Would it be cool to do that? Yeah, that'd be cool. So let's do it, right? And if we think of something else and go, nah, it's okay, but it's, nah. Right? So we just iterate and make it better and better, right? So we start with something very basic, right? Now, up until this point, all I was going to do is like save some images of the maps, right? And just plonk them on the thing. And then I was thinking of other games and the way they do it. And I was thinking, right, world map. So I downloaded the world map. I made it all transparent and stuff. And then I said, right, that's going to be the background. At that point, I was still thinking, right, okay, we'll just plonk an image on the top, right? And then I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we moved the map around so that, you know, it moved it to the world map so you saw where you were going to in the world. So that's how that idea came up, right? And now we're trying to do it. So we're at a stage where we thought, is this a cool idea? Yes, let's do it. Okay? So I'll show you what we've got on the actual game itself, right? Now, when you're doing this solo development, you jump between a lot of different things, right? You jump between doing map stuff, yes, but I'm also a tutor. I teach people this as well. But yeah, I'm always learning as well, right? And all of these things come into play when I'm teaching people, right? That I've done these things, so I know how to do it. So yes, I am always open to improving and learning how to do stuff. Right? But, so, we've got our map here. It's still doing shaders or something. as I said, these things that you learn, they're always useful for doing other things, right? They're always useful. They always end up coming in useful for some other game or what you're doing, like Groenland, for example. You know, we might end up using a map widget, right? And then I'll know how to do certain things, right? So this is our basic map, okay? Where I am testing stuff. Now this, if you've ever watched the combat footage from the Ukrainian stuff, the world actually looks kind of like this. This is a very simplistic version, right? But you get all the fighting and stuff done in these tree lines, right? And they've normally got like a rough path going parallel to those tree lines, right? So you will have like artillery and stuff hidden in the tree lines, and the soldiers will invariably run about in the tree lines, right? Because obviously if they run about in open space, right, they're going to get shot or bombed or whatever, right? So what you're seeing here is these are blocking volumes where the soldiers can't go, right? So I'm basically forcing the soldiers to move inside this area here, right? So if I press play, and it's going to take a minute to run, but we'll try it. Now, a lot of this stuff is you learn how to do one thing and then you can apply it to another. Okay, so the other day I was doing the drone. No, the soldiers are NPCs, right? But they're controlled by AI. Right, at the moment it is very simplistic. They will just run around randomly, right? They'll basically wait for 30 seconds, pick somewhere to run to, and then run there, okay? Obviously that's going to be expanded, but we just want an idea of what it's going to be like, okay? The artillery is going to fire. We're going to have a range on the drone. If the drone gets too close to the soldiers, then the soldiers are going to start firing at the drone. Not saying they're going to hit it, right? But there's going to be a chance they hit it, okay? But you'll see we have some basic mechanics here, especially for the drone, okay? Which you will see in a minute once this starts up. As I said, it takes a minute to, because of swapped levels, it needs to do some shader stuff and get itself ready to run, okay? But you'll see it in a minute, and I think you'll be quite impressed by what you see. Hopefully, anyway. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll think it's crap, and that's okay as well. Because not all games are enjoyable to everyone. Some people like some type of games and other type of games, so yeah. But anyway, I'm just going to keep waffling on until it starts. And there we go. We have our drone. And it's still doing stuff. So let me just explain. On the right hand side we have our camera zoom. We have our signal. These are not completed widgets, these are just placeholders. In your experience, is it easier to make soldiers NPCs or also give control to the player like Age of Empires? It just depends on the game, right? you don't really make a decision like that. It's what the game requires, right? You'll get some soldiers where it'll be totally NPC controlled. You'll get some games that, like an RTS possibly, where it's totally player controlled. Like you'll have a move, right? And they will just move there and basically stand about, right? But obviously you can have a mixture. You can say, if I control them, then let me control them. But if I select them and tell them to do this, then do that, right? And when they're finished doing that, then go back to AI controlled, right? It just depends on the game and what, is the use case for that game, right? So anyway, we've got our drone here. I'm going to stop it so that we're playing during the day to start with, right? And I'm going to show you. So this is the zoom of the camera. This is the signal. That is our current altitude. And this is our battery life for the drone, okay? Now, we've got 8 different methods of movement. So we have drone up and down, we have drone forward and backward, we have drone rotate left and right, and we have drone strafe left and right. Okay, I'll show you those in a second, right? The drone will not crash into the ground, right? So you can see there our drone, and once it gets going, once Unreal decides it's done its thing, we shall see the rotors moving properly, right? So we're moving, so we can go up, down, we can rotate, we can move forward, we can go to the side, or strafe left and right. It'll be easier to see if I'm actually facing. So we can strafe, or we can rotate, we can strafe. Now, here's where it gets interesting, right? Because what I can do is I can swap camera, and that is us looking straight down, right? We can zoom up, right? And we can see guys down there, right? There's the artillery and stuff. Now, what we can do now is we can swap camera mode. Right? And that is now thermal. Sorry, night vision. We can swap again to thermal. Right? We can strafe. We swap camera again to front view, so we want to look down. So there's our soldiers running around, right? And now what we can do is we can drop a bomb. Right? And you can see that it's killed somebody. Now, what we can actually do here is zoom in. We're not moving the camera, we are zooming the camera at this point. We're not moving the drone, right? So we can actually, as you can see, we're moving the drone at that point. We can drop a bomb. Now, I don't think that's close. Yeah, it is close enough to kill the guy, right? Now, what we can do is I'm going to try not to kill this guy. He's actually been hit, or not been hit. He's actually not been hit, right? But you can see how cool this is, right? This is cool. So we're going to drop a bomb. He's actually been hit, right? We want a soldier that's just kind of standing there. They're post-processing effects, right? It isn't actually doing what you think it's doing, but it's basically simulating what you think it's doing. So I'm going to drop a bomb, right? It's quite far away. You'll notice that he started running immediately. What that signifies is that it wasn't close enough to kill him, but it was close enough to injure him. Okay? So I don't have like a crawling away injured animation. Right? But when I drop a bomb and he starts running like that on the spot, that means he's injured. Right? Now, we do have it, that, and I haven't got it anymore, right, that if we dropped a bomb, now this is black and white mode, so it's darkest night, right, and it's actually snowing. That's normal map. This is thermal, right? So if we've not got anything really close, so we really need to zoom in. Is this black and white? That's thermal. I think here that the weather is affecting our camera, right? But you'll see here that, yeah, the weather's affecting our camera because it's another post-process thing, right? So we need to either clear up the weather or whatever, right? So I'm going to try and show you the thermal, sorry, night vision, not the thermal. Yeah, it was lightning. There's full like day-night cycles and weather cycles and all that crap, right? But we need to do, as I said, we are really early into this, right? We're talking, I'm about doing this for about, at the most, a week, right? I'm working on 4 different projects, okay? So I've not had a heck of a lot of time on this, right? No, you'll know when it's night vision, okay? Trust me. But we can look through thermal, right? Night vision will switch off if it's during the day because it just makes too much light, which is actually realistic. But you can see our thermal, right? That's our thermal. That is our black and white. Yeah, it's about a week, right? So we want it to turn to night and then we can see the thermal stuff. Right, so it's turning to night here, right? Come on, be night. It's not quite night time yet. Come on, thermal. Sorry, night. Where's the night vision? There we go. So there's night vision. Okay. Okay. We can turn night vision off. That's thermal. That's black and white. That's normal. Thermal and heat. Right? Now, a really cool thing is that, as I said, modern day drones don't crash into the ground. Okay, so I had to program that as well. So we do that. I can show you that in action. Right, it's going to, our drone is automatically going to keep itself above the ground and not crash. Okay, so you can see there that our altitude is 4.5 meters. Okay, so if we go up a bit, right, we can zoom over here. Now what we can do is, you'll notice if we go straight ahead, we're going to crash into the mountain, right, as the altitude of the mountain goes up, right? But we're going to show you that it actually doesn't, right? Because our drone is going to actually reposition our drone above the ground, just above the ground, so it doesn't crash, right? And it did crash, and that's because Unreal Engine is a bit laggy. Under normal circumstances that would not do that, which is, so it's proven me a bit of an idiot, but anyway, that's what happens sometimes, especially when you're streaming. Right, so we'll do that again. Right, so don't make me look like an idiot, please, this time, Unreal Engine. I do know this works, right? It's just one of the things that Unreal Engine decides it's going to lag out a little bit. Right, so if I fly straight ahead, we're going to crash into the side of the mountain, basically, right? Yeah, because that's the way drones work now, right? Drones do not crash. Yes, you watch, right? It keeps itself above the ground, right? And it's going to prove I'm an idiot again, right? This is probably OBS, because I'm doing this. That it's not quite. My computer is running so many things that it can't quite keep up 60 frames a second, which means it's not quite being able to add the height quickly enough, right? But this does work. You saw it working, right? It was only when it reached the top, for some reason, it didn't work, right? But it does work. Okay, it's just Unreal Engine just wanting to show me up to be a liar, even though I know this does work because I've tested it about 40 times because I thought it was quite cool when I did it, right? You can see it, see it going up? You know, it's going up because it has to, right? And it's staying at 0.8 meters. I'm going straight ahead, I'm not changing attitude, right? So it's moving it up and down. Right, and there we go, it's fine. Right, it's keeping us at 0.8 meters. Right, we're now, the ground is dropping away. Right, wow, what's going on there? And you can see the different weather. Right? And basically it has done some weird stuff here. Right, it's doing some weird stuff. See that stuff on the left hand side where the writing came up? That's basically, it's just said, I don't know what's going on here, so I'm going to crash. Or it didn't crash, but I can't actually control it anymore. But anyway, you saw there, it actually, the drone keeps itself from crashing into the ground. Yes, we are. We're using blueprints, which is basically a set of function calls to C++. Right, so basically, if I show you the graph here, you'll see the code, right? But as you can see, Unreal Engine has decided to have a little moment to itself and basically not do anything. There we go, right? So these are the things that basically do shit, right? Probably you're not going to understand any of this, but this is the controller that controls the actual pawn, which is the actual drone, right? So this is the movement controls. So this is like moving up, down, rotating and stuff. Yeah, Jathan, it's quiet on a Saturday night, right? There's certain days on YouTube are quiet, certain days, certain times on, you know, there's a few people in, right? But this is like the movement code, right? Done in blueprints, right? This is rotate left, rotate right. So these are all the different movements of the drone. This one here is strafe left and strafe right. Okay. The reason, well, probably you won't know, but these are normally one thing, but if you want to do keybinds, you've got to split them up. So I've already split them up because I like doing keybinds, which aren't in it yet, but they certainly will be, so that you can basically pick what keys you want to use. It's also set up for the controller, so if I want to use a controller with this, I can. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll select that and we'll put a comment in. Yeah, you make it like a flowchart and it's all little bits of code. Right. Again, I am available for one-to-one tuition. Keep that in mind, Jathan, if you ever want to learn Unreal Engine. So this is going to be strafe left and right. Okay. And we're going to make it 32. And this is just some comments so that we know what it is. We'll okay that. Right, well, I'm going to call it a night. For your information, Jathan, I normally stream at 2 PM Central and 8 PM Central. If I'm not tutoring or teaching, so you are welcome to pop by any time, and thanks for interacting with me. It's always good, makes it easier to stream when somebody is talking to you, makes it more fun. But I'm going to call it for tonight. As I said, Saturday night, I'm going to have a beer. So you guys have a great night out there. Hit the like and subscribe. Check out the links in the description to Discord for Grainland. There's my personal Discord plus my previous game on Steam. These are all links, by the way. My Patreon. There is link to our website and our Kickstarter preview. You're welcome, Jason. As I said, thank you very much, because it's always good when you get somebody interacting. It always makes the time pass faster, and it's more interesting when you can answer people's questions and stuff, which makes it fun. So, as I said, have a great night, guys. And we shall see you tomorrow, 2 PM Central. Bye bye for now.